Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
I have some just incredible economic news, and that's the main reason that I wanted to get Gerald Celente on short notice. We appreciate him joining us of Trends Research Group, is because Gerald is one of those maybe 5 or 6 guests that we interview routinely who's been accurate about 97% of the time. And a lot of people say, well, Alex, you've made these predictions as well. Well, sure, but I made them in my own specific way. You know, Gerald really hung his neck out there, went out on a limb and called things, you know, to a T. And also, we're a small group of people that are willing to tell the truth. It's not like the controllers don't know what's happening. They know, they've engineered it. They want to keep people in the dark so they can keep posing as saviors. So I want to get into the big economic news right now, what's happening in the euro plunging, the stock market falling right now, the fact that you're seeing record non-purchases of U.S. bonds, so record monetization of the Fed. Fed's going to do QE3 through a new stimulus. They're just not going to call it that. To break down what we're currently seeing, because it's one thing to talk about the collapse, another thing to now see it actually unfolding, is Gerald Celente of TrendsResearch.com. Gerald, thank you for joining us today, sir.
My pleasure. Before we go any further, Alex, I really want to add on to what you said about PrisonPlanet.com and InfoWars and what you're doing, and to have people sign up and to really understand that it's voices like yours and websites like yours that are really making the difference out there. Because the mainstream media, as you well know, I call them the prostitutes, and the ABCs, the CBSs, the NBCs, the NPRs, the PBSs, the BBCs, are nothing more than houses of prostitution. And what they're doing, as any prostitute does, is just serving their masters. And at this critical time, they're just silent on this economic collapse. And they're making it sound as though, you know, just hold your breath. This is a good buying opportunity. The policymakers are going to come up with solutions. They just have to put their heads together. You know, and they're not going to come up with anything because it's an unsolvable situation. And as we look at what's going on in the news today, in current events forming future trends, it's important to understand what just happened in Switzerland overnight that most people probably don't know about. About a year and a half ago in the Trends Journal, I make it very clear what my investment strategies are. I don't give advice. I just say what I do. I said that I was buying heavily into Swiss francs and gold. Well, about 3 weeks ago, I made it public again that I was out of Swiss francs because they were announcing a scheme to peg the Swiss franc to the euro.
You said that here.
And I said it on air with you as well. And they did it last night. And they did it for one reason. And it's the same reason they do everything. To help the bigs, to help the Nestles, to help the ABBs, to help the Hoffman LaRoches, to help them sell more of their crap to countries overseas, whereby they have to make their currency less expensive so they can sell more of their product, as they screw the Swiss people, because now everything's going to cost them more. So no longer are, as I used to call the Swiss, the money cockroaches of the world. Now they're just a number of other rats out there who are in what they call the banking system that are selling the people out. And that's what they're doing. They're selling us out as we speak. Whether it's the Swiss doing it, as you mentioned, a new name for QE2, the ship is going under. But I want to go back to the prostitutes and why it's important for everyone out there to tell all their friends, to keep getting people tuning into you. Because here's what they do, Alex. Remember Hurricane Irene? And you saw all these prostitutes geared up in their hurricane gear, closing down New York City, putting fear and hysteria in the hearts of everyone. Listen to what your mayor says. Stay inside. You know, they should change the name of that show, Anderson Cooper 360 to AC/DC 180. Because that guy was screaming like crazy out there. The point I'm making, whether it's a hurricane disaster, whether it's terrorism, boy, do they hit you with fear and hysteria. But not when the economy's collapsing. Not when the whole world markets are unraveling, as they did yesterday, while Americans who had jobs celebrated Labor Day. The European markets and the Asian markets, but they lost on average European 5%, Asian 2.5%. It continues as I speak. They're not saying head for the hills, batten down the hatches, make sure you have security measures. And oh, no. Pick up the toilet paper a record, the New York Times. This guy, Ron Lieber, wrote a story a few weeks ago. You know, don't do anything. Don't use that fear, flight and flight mentality. Just stay put. Don't run away from home. Don't put your money into gold. Just listen to us. So what they do is they scare the hell out of people to control them with fear and hysteria. But when it comes to losing your money, they tell you, take a deep breath. It's just a hiccup. It's a buying opportunity.
Well, that was mine.
As they're raping you in front of your eyes.
Gerald, I want to specifically get your take on the Wall Street Journal a week and a half ago. Ran with a report. Even Goldman Sachs secretly believes that an economic collapse is coming. And quietly to the big players and big institutional investors like universities and billionaires, they told them, hey, we're betting on, in a 54-page report, in basically a total collapse in the next 3 to 6 months. Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan are also betting on $2,500 an ounce gold by the end of 2011, just a few months away. But then meanwhile, their pundits, I see them on the news and see them on Bloomberg, making fun of anyone talking about a collapse. So basically, they're trying to pump it up to keep all the little guys in while they get out the back door. And again, they engineer the crisis and get more power out of it. That's the method to the madness. And as they wreck economies, they then always pose as the saviors. But this is all coming to an end. Congress, record low approval rating, record number of Americans think the government is working against them and is not in their best interest. We have all this stuff happening. Everything you talked about is coming true. What Ron Paul talked about, all coming true. What I talked about, common sense history. Hey, they're devaluing the currency. Hey, they're selling trillions in fake derivatives. Hey, they're too big to fail. They're going to feed everything into their system. Hey, every bailout in Europe is led by a new bailout. I mean, we know where this is headed. So why does the system think they can get away with this, or is there a type of collective delusion going on? I mean, you've worked in and around these people as a big consultant and in government and as a lobbyist, really knowing these people. You know, I understand they've got a plan. They think they're in control. But at the same time, more and more I agree with what I've heard you and others say, that they're not really in control, and that's almost even more scary. So, Gerald Celente, your view on the fact that they're secretly betting against their own system and sending out to their low-level clients, just like Timberwolf said, ways to sucker them. I mean, these are degenerate, nastiest criminals you can imagine.
Well, they're money junkies, just like a heroin addict, a coke addict, a meth addict. They're money addicts. You know, that's what they do. They have no bounds or boundaries. You know, they'll kill their mother to make a buck, and they've shown that they will. Let's understand, Alex, that most of the people, again, are lulled into, you know, meeting the prostitutes on Sunday morning. They're not watching you. They're only the small minority. You know, we're looking at about a 20% of the population that gets it at any level. Look at the wimpocrats, those screaming liberals, those quiche eaters and with the balsamic smiles. Look what Obama did to them on the day before Labor Day when no one's watching the news. He announced that, well, I'm not going to pass those pieces of pollution legislation, smog legislation, because it might hurt businesses. So they know what they're doing. And all they're interested in doing is protecting the too bigs. You look at luxury sales, they're doing fine because all the money is going to the top of the pyramid. So they know that all they have to do, whether it's false flag or real, and I've seen it and so have you, once that happens, they use the fear and hysteria card, terrorism, an attack somewhere, whatever it might be, to get the sheeple back in line. And that's what's going to happen. Mark my words. Before the elections of 2012 happens, fear and hysteria at some level will be running through this country.
Well, going back to what you were talking about earlier, it's central to all of this. They hype up and fearmonger things that aren't really dangerous or that we have no control over while ignoring the total end of our financial system, a bottomless black hole of depression, which they've engineered. And then you were talking about alternative media's rise. Janet Napolitano has come out and attacked Drudge Report for calling her basically a monster, and she's attacked the alternative media, saying that they haven't lied about the naked body scanners. She says, Janet Napolitano, Drudge is just wrong on privacy. They're having to respond now to the internet because if you look at the numbers, the alternative media dwarfs mainstream media. The mainstream media is not mainstream anymore.
I know they're not, but they still have a very powerful voice, and that's when people tune in times of crisis. And that's why they'll get the sheeple to follow them. And you mentioned about the Goldman Sachs report. Listen to what the head of Deutsche Bank, Ackerman, said yesterday. He compared what's going on now to 2008, the financial panic. Yeah, no kidding. You got to wait for him to tell you.
But we stay there. We got to go to break. But we told everybody then it'll be a couple more years. This will cause inflation. We'll be in a worse depression at the end of it. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
You don't need me to tell you that humanity is in a deep crisis. Everyone can feel it. We know a tectonic struggle is now taking place between the forces of freedom and those who love darkness, bondage, and enslavement. Yes, my friends, evil is rising. But take heart. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Recently, New World Order operative Hillary Clinton admitted they're losing the info war.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
The globalists are scared. They've overreached. The future of the info war is in your hands. Join PrisonPlanet.tv. Download the thousands of special video reports, ebooks, and more, and get them out to everyone you know. Continue to spread the word about the broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and every other globalist propaganda platform. We are going to use their system against them. The info war now goes into high gear.